Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am your Bremen Regional Champion 2022. It still feels incredible to be able to say that, well, without lying, basically. Yeah, I won the most recent European Regional Championships, and this is my team report. I am Maurice Uteg. I'm going by Camikasa Online, and I'm part of Warrior Esports, which is a German esports association dedicated to VGC. And yeah, I mean, let's just dive right into it. I started playing this team after Pengi cut with those 6 Pokemon in Liverpool, and it instantly clicked because I like being reactive and I have a very defensive playstyle. And yeah, this team, I can just really get going with this team. So this is the spread Pengi used in Liverpool. It's public anyway, so I'm allowed to share it, obviously. And he made a team report on Adi's channel, which is still very recent, I would say. Even though if it's still if it's a few months ago, the team is still strong. And I didn't really change that much. I mean, I changed quite a bit, but the core of the team still stands. So I'm trying to lay more focus on the differences and the changes I made to the team, rather than just explaining the team from scratch. And yeah, he was suggesting that sword stance is not needed on Zacian, or he didn't really click it that often, and he wants to play rough. So I started off with play rough, and it really worked out from the start, so I never really changed that. So yeah, as I said, directly after Liverpool I just spammed this team on ladder against friends in practice, and then I brought it to Frankfurt, where I managed to get top 64 at least. I mean, I started off 6-1, which is really strong, but then I got a bit nervous because I was playing Francesco Pardini and Joseph Ugarte, which are some really strong players, and I was just a bit intimidated, and they were playing better than me. I was not brave enough to make the right calls or to call out the leads correctly. So yeah, I lost against them, but still managed to go top 64 with this variant of the team. I changed the Incineroar item and the EV spread and one attack. I changed the what was Forge Chop to Burning Jealousy because of the Thunderous matchup. Thunderous Station Calyrex Shadow otherwise would be a big problem because you can't really deal with Thunderous that well. But Burning Jealousy actually does, which is kind of weird because you're leading Grimstyle and Incineroar into Thunderous. You know, you're leading Incineroar into Thunderous on purpose, which feels kind of weird at first, but it really works out pretty well. So yeah, if they don't respect you, or if they are at AB and they just max and you Burning Jealousy, you basically instantly win the game. I was running Choppleberry even because I wanted to live a Sacred Sword from Zacian and a Mix Fighting or Mix Airstream, like any move through Reflect basically 100% of the time, and then just burn both of them, because Zacian is getting burned because it hit the field, and Thunderous is getting burned because of the Defiant. So even if they don't go for Max Airstream or stuff like that, they both are getting burned. However, they try to adjust by protecting their Thunderous turn 1 and then brick breaking the turn after. So you gotta be a bit careful against that. Most of the time it works perfectly game 1, and then I just try to adapt. But I mean, Incineroar is really bulky, and they have to commit 3 attacks into it. So I had foul play on this Grimsnarl in Frankfurt, because if they just don't max, you just one-shot them with foul play, you know, which is very valuable. I switched to Rillaboom's attack. It had a U-turn. I switched it to protect because it allows you to stall out max turns better. It allowed you to play more passive against Calyrex Ice, you could stall the Trick Room, for example, with it pretty well. I ran a hyper offensive Zacian because I thought, you know, I'm screens, so why should I be bulky if I can just, you know, go almost max attack and just do considerable damage while they are dealing less damage to me anyway because of the screens basically. And yeah, I would say it worked out quite well. So I was pretty confident that I could just continue playing this team. I didn't bring Zapdos at all, or I mean, not very often in Frankfurt, and Joey demolished me with Regieleki and Yveltal, so I switched the Zapdos into the Landorus Theorying with a Life Orb, just because of the Yveltal Eleki matchup, and I thought like having an offensive mode could be pretty nice at some points, because if you, let's say you played defensively for two games, and then in game 3 you just lead out the Landorus, get an Intimidate off on the Pokemon that wants to max on their side, for example, and just go for Airstreams with your Kyogre next to your Realization even. So that was the plan. But I sadly lost confidence in Landorus because I played so many Zacian Kyogres and this team wasn't really good into the mirror anymore. I mean, it wasn't really favored, you know. While it is favored with a Zapdos, it's not too it's not too favored with Landorus. So yeah, I started off 4-1 and went to 4-4. Not because of the team, I would say. I made a huge mistake against Terry Pokemon, who won the recent Lille championships, but yeah, I just didn't feel confident with the Landorus slot anymore. So yeah, next up was Lille, and that's almost the same team I brought to Bremen Regional Championship. So let's just dive into the team. So I bombed Lille because I was really nervous. It definitely wasn't the team. And I talked to Pengi before Lille, and he basically explained me how to play the Zapdos at all because I didn't really understand before. But we will get to that later. And I made those changes in yellow again. Like I swapped back to a more bulky Zacian spread. I have a pretty fast Zacian, which is faster than many Zacians. It hits 194 speed, which allows you to outspeed Venusaur in Sun at +1, which is pretty nice because if they have a Sun team, you can just lead Zacian Zapdos, and you can just protect Airstream turn 1 and then have a Zacian which is most definitely the 100 like the fastest Pokemon on the field. So that's why I like the spread. It also allows you to outspeed many Zacians, which helps you in endgames because it often comes down to Zacian outspeeding. I swapped back to Spirit Break because it just gives you so many options to stall out opposing Dynamaxes. I changed the Incineroar EV spread and went even more bulky and had a focus sash on it. We will talk about this later. It was definitely the best decision. Like, it seems crazy at first to have like a very, very bulky spread with a focus sash, but yeah, it's definitely the right choice for this team, I think. And I took out some speed of the Kyogre and put it into the special attack. Yeah, I would say we should talk about the ones individually now. This is the winning team. Of course, you will find the paste down below. I will upload the mental team as well, and feel free to play it on ladder and go crazy with it. So yeah, let's talk about the ones individually. This is the Kyogre. Yeah, you have an Assaultress behind screens, so this is absolutely crazy. Pengi already talked about this, so I would not go into detail. The Thunder is crazy good for 1v1s and also very nice to set up electric terrain. For example, against like Calyrex Ice Palkia, if you see them, you don't need to bring your Zapdos actually. You can just max your Kyogre and set up electric terrain, stall out the Trick Room, which is fairly easy with this team through screens and through Thunder Waves and with your sheer bulk with the team. And yeah, Water Sport gives you a 150 base power max geyser. It's also a water sport, like don't underestimate it. You can, in some occasions, you can just T-wave to one slot, you are faster than the other slot, for example if it's an Incineroar or something, and you can just water spout, and you hit 100% of the time. You are dealing just as much damage as Origin Pulse if you are above 70% of your health, so water sport is crazy. But Origin Pulse is just as important because you are clicking this move probably the most, because your Kyogre is just so bulky, it stays so long on the field. It doesn't really matter if you miss one. I mean, it's likely that you miss one at some point. You have so many chances at just clicking Origin Pulse and getting into really good positions because of the sheer amount of damage. And yeah, then you have the Max Strike for speed control. It's pretty nice for itself. Obviously, it's slower than most other Kyogres, but you're outspeeding every Kyogre if you Max Strike it at once. So that's nice. It's actually a good thing to be slower than most Kyogres sometimes, because they are setting the max lightning terrain for you. You just tank this like a boss because you're so bulky with the Assault Vest, and then you just hit back, and it's even electric terrain boosted, so it's dealing even more damage. So most of the time you're even favored if you're slower, which is kind of funny. But yeah, Max Strike also helps for opposing with Jelly Keys, for example. You can bring in the Rosation then Zacian will outspeed with Jelly Keys, it will outspeed Calyrex Shadows, or opposing Zacians even. You get the point. Like, Max Strike is really crucial in this on this team, I would say. So yeah, I decided to put more attack, like more special attack EVs into the Pokemon and just put it out of speed, because Pengy was using 120 speed as a stat because he wanted to outspeed Thundurus at +1, or like he wanted to outspeed -1 Thundurus after like max striking them. But it never really came up in practice for me, and I think it's really risky to just max strike a Thundurus, because if they go for max airstream, you just gave them a free +2 boost, you know. So yeah, I wasn't gonna use this as a game plan anyway, so I just took out the speed and put it into a special attack, because then it allows me to kill aggressive Life Orb Thundurus after Life Orb chip. It just gives me favorable Origin Pulse rolls. It allows me to kill most Zacians with Origin Pulse plus max airstream from the Zapdos. So yeah, I think it is that's a pretty nice thing to have, you know. And this is your primary max candidate, so of course you want to have a lot of EVs in your HP, because that amount basically doubles if you're Dynamaxing. And yeah, I think bulky Kyogre is just crazy. I mean, if you've seen the finals, you have seen how much this Pokemon tanked. It tanked 2 Behemoth Blades, and on top of that it tanked a Thunderbolt from a Zapdos. Of course behind screens, but you know, that's how the team functions, so that's just crazy. There's not much to say about the Zacian. I already said it. I'm outspeeding Venusaur at +1. It still has good bulk with 212 HP. And I think you really need every attacking move, because Sacred Sword is so important against Incineroars. Of course, you have your Kyogre, but you don't want to rely only on your Kyogre to hit Incineroars. It's nice against Solgaleo in endgames. It's really necessary against those random Dialga teams that pop up here and there. Play Rough allows you to hit other Kyogres for a lot of damage. It allows you to hit Zapdos in the mirror, which was very crucial in the finals, because my opponent didn't have Play Rough and I did, so I was just favored if we brought the same Pokemon, you know. Yeah, it just allows you to deal a lot of damage. It is stab after all. And yeah, that's basically the session. I already explained everything about it. So yeah, Rillaboom as well. I didn't really bring Rillaboom that often. I don't know. It just didn't feel right most of the time. I bought it before, and I remember Pinky saying in his team report that he benched Zacian more often than Rillaboom most of the time, and so did I in practice, but for some reason during the tournament I always never brought it out. Not even against Kyogres or Gastrodons, because Grimmsnarl, Zapdos, and Zacian are handling them just as well, and with the bulky Zacian I can just live so many attacks and deal way more damage to most of the Pokemon than with Rillaboom. So yeah. But of course, it's still a nice mod to have. I played against one Scarf Kyogre, for example. Of course you want to have Rillaboom there, and they often have to do sacrifices in team preview in order to counter the Rillaboom, so it's nice to have. Of course, Grassy Glide, no discussion. Protect is nice to start out max turns and Trick Room, and honestly, high horsepower doesn't really matter. I don't know. I think it's just nice to have against Zacians in the end game sometimes, or to have a max Quake if you end up maxing it. I don't know. So you might as well play Woodhammer, but I decided to run high horsepower, but I think I never clicked it because I brought Rillaboom to like 3 or 4 games anyway. The min speed was I think Pengy used min speed to speed tie with min speed in DD to reset the terrain, basically to grassy search. In practice this didn't really come up to me at all, and it doesn't really matter, but it's still nice to run min speed because of the many Trick Room comps that exists, and Lunadon, for example. Yeah, I think min speed is really nice because it just devalues the opposing Trick Room if they are like a committed Trick Room team. Now let's talk about the Grimmsnarl. I wasn't running G-Max Grimmsnarl, but it doesn't really matter because I don't have a dark move anyway, and the dark move is the move that gets changed. Yeah, I mean, screens are insane, and you want the 8 turns because this team plays very defensively. That's why I didn't even consider like changing the item. If you're running Life Orb Kyogre like we've seen here and there on other teams, then I think you could argue that light play isn't really necessary anymore. But on my team, you don't want to do anything else. You want to light play basically. Thunder Wave is a great speed control and a great win more option. Like after 3 turns of paralysis on your opponent's Pokemon, they already have a 58% chance to be fully parried at least once. So yeah, that's just it. Like your Thunder Wave. I even value Thunder Wave on Calyrex, Shadow, and Zacian more at some times than I value a screen, because it's just so nice for the speed control, because the speed control stays even if they are switching out, which is really nice. And yeah, Spirit Break is just disruptive and deals actually good damage. The spread allows you to outspeed base hundreds after a T-Wave, and Spirit Break is crazy after that if they are maxed. Like you've seen it in finals as well. We will get to that later when I just T-Waved the Kyogre and then Spirit Break because I was outspeeding them. They just didn't deal any damage afterwards, you know, especially not behind the light screen. So this is really clutch. And yeah, the defense and HP allows you to live a -1 Behemoth Blade from an intimidated, like it allows you to live a intimidated Zacian basically behind a Reflect. If it's Jolly. If it's Adamant, it becomes a wall, but yeah, it allows you to live that, and you might as well take the chance, because if your Grimmsnarl is staying on the field, it's really nice. You're setting up Reflect, he has to double it, and if he doesn't, you can just T-Wave the Zacian the turn after, which is most of the time already a 1 game if you got both, like the Reflect and the T-Wave. Yeah, I brought it to almost every game, maybe even every game. I don't remember, I didn't take notes because I forgot my pen. So this Pokemon is absolutely insane. Your opponent has to remove it. Your opponent cannot ignore it. He kind of has to value damage on the Grimmsnarl more than on your threatening targets next to it, which is absolutely insane. If you get screens up and he just leaves it on, it's likely that you will just run away with the game. Yeah, it's just crazy. Now we come to the partner of Grimmsnarl. I really like the Grimmsnarl Incineroar lead a lot. And yeah, I mean, it's abomination time. I even wrote it there. Pengy already explained the moveset, so and so did I. Like, Burning Jealousy is there for the Thunderous matchup, but it's also nice against like pinning down Landorus, for example, or just if you consider if you're seeing like any setup move against Cortana is nice as well. Like you are getting off a lot of burns, and they matter almost always. I had Choppleberry to live the double up every time in Frankfurt, but I came up with something more clever, I would say. Or well, not I came up. My friend Tevin and Oliver just said to me, why shouldn't I try why I didn't try Focus Sash. Yeah, I think Sugarberry didn't really make sense. I didn't bring it to most Groudon matchups, and yeah, to be honest, it's just important to lift the attack and get a parting shot off in most of the times. So I was just playing with Focus Sash, and it was absolutely crazy. And I still, because I put in more EVs in the defense, I was still only have a 14.45% chance to be KO'd by a double up of a Zacian and a max attack Life Orb Thunderous, even like if they are going for the most brutal combo, which is I think Superpower with Life Orb and Sacred Sword, or it's Brick Break with Life Orb, something like that. If they are going for this, I still have a 14% chance to live, and Burning Ball with the Pokemon. And I thought, you know, I should take it. Most of the people would probably play Hydro Pump, you know, and this is even more likely. That this is basically as likely as hitting a Will-O-Wisp. So I was saying, okay, I'll take the chance and just play with the spread, and it worked out crazy. And yeah, I mean, even speed comes in pretty handy, minus speed, because you're slower than opposing Incineroars. If they don't throat chop you, then you're getting off your parting shot like delayed, which is always nice to have the second parting shot. I don't really care about having the second fake out, because if they fake out my Pokemon, I'm mostly leading Grimmsnarl and Incineroar, I will get off either a screen or a parting shot, which is always in my favor. And yeah, Focus Sash comes in clutch against Landorus, for example, but there would Sugarberry would be nice as well. It comes in clutch against Regieleki. It's really nice against a Kyogre. If you're forced to bring Incineroar against Kyogre, for example, against the French Shedinja team, then Focus Sash can be really valuable. Last but not least, there is the Zacian. This is literally the same Zapdos that Pengy used in Liverpool. I don't know if he changed anything on the Zapdos since then. I didn't. And yeah, this Pokemon is absolutely insane. I didn't fully understand how to play this Pokemon until shortly before Lille. After I was asking Pengy, he explained it to me that I can just bring it in game 1. And remember this if you want to play this team. You bring it in game 1, you play a game of information, you get to know the roles of Zacians, for example. You see if your Zapdos is faster than Kyogre, and if it is, you probably win the game. You live non-life orb geysers behind screens anyway, so Zapdos did its job if it got off an Eerie Impulse. And if it gets more, that's just a bonus, and you're just running away with the game. Yeah, this Zapdos is brought into the Zek Ogre Mirrors. It's really good against Venusaur as well, as you've probably seen in my win in top cut match. Venusaur just does nothing to this Pokemon, and you're just threatening everything. You can set up your screens freely. He has to decide: does he want to just go for a Sleep Powder on your neighbor slot, which is most of the time a Grimmsnarl. Sleep on there is not that valuable, and then he gets one shot by Hurricane, or he gets Eerie Impulse. He has to switch out, like stuff like that. Absolutely massive. This Pokemon is crazy. It allows you to play endgames pretty well. You even win against Zacian 1v1, especially if they don't have play rough. If they do, you win with a Reflect. You just boost up basically until they get a full like until they get paralyzed. Then you boost up again, you're full life, and if they get full paralyzed, then you can start chipping them. It's a bit weird, but most of the time it shouldn't come down to a Zapdos versus Zacian 1v1, and it's way more comfortable if they don't have play rough. But you know, you have the option, which is something to keep in mind. So yeah, that is my team. I'm still in utter disbelief that I managed to win this. I think the team is crazy good, but I think I played it well, like very well. I had a pretty good mentality. I will probably do a video on my mentality as well, because I think this is a very undervalued thing. Many people are not really talking about this, and I would now briefly talk over my Swiss rounds and my top cut. Yeah, it's still crazy to have won the regional, you know. It's absolutely massive. And yeah, let's just talk about my Swiss rounds. So I will just briefly go over the matches and only talk about some clutch things that happens. There will be more details in my team report that will be on the Victory Road website very soon. And if you're interested in game plans against meta teams, then don't stop the video and like just listen, because I basically played every meta team there is right now, except for Winyasan, but you could argue that Winyasan isn't really a meta team anymore. And yeah, I'm just trying to focus on game plans here. Yeah, round 1, I played against my friend Christian from Austria. He goes by VGC online. It's a bit sad to play friends, but it's also a bit bittersweet, because it's nice to play friends and have nice games when the stakes are high, you know. And this was round 1. We both desperately needed CP. I even needed a top card for my Worlds Invite. And yeah, he was playing Reshiram Calyrex Ice, which is a pretty standard team. I just led Incineroar Grimmsnarl game 1. He led Regieleki and Incineroar, and that was the first time that my Focus Sash was so valuable. It instantly won me game 1. He just faked out my Grimmsnarl and Mix Lightninged my Incineroar, and I got a parting shot off because I got down to Focus Sash. He was like, oh damn, and then I parting shot at his Regieleki and the game was over from there. I just brought in my Kyogre. I just set up the light screen, and he was dealing like 0 damage. Like I think it was like 30% in electric terrain, and he was life orb special Eleki, you know. But he was -1 through Assault Vest, through light screen, no damage. I could just bomb the Incineroar and then bomb the Eleki slot, and he didn't go with the Trick Room route, because if you're bringing Regieleki, you know, I can understand that you're not bringing the Trick Room. And game 2, I just knew he wouldn't go for the Regieleki again. And then I just let Kyogre and got off a Water Spout, killing his Incineroar turn 1, just winning the game. Game 2 I played against Marcus Sutter. He's a crazy player. Like, I'm looking up to him since I started playing VGC. I basically started playing because of him. So it was already a win playing against this guy. He annihilated me. I don't really know what happened. I think game 1 it was like a late game Charizard Dynamax. I don't remember what happened in game 2. He just stumped me. But what I remember is I could have won if I made like some hard reads in some crucial turns, because everything was pretty telegraphed. And if I just go for a hard read once, I can run away with the game. And I didn't do this, and I knew from that point onwards that I had to step up my gameplay, especially against star players. Round 3, standard Thunderization stuff. I basically won game 1 with Burning Jealousy. In game 2 I brought Kyogre. He let Whimsicott Thunderous. He tricked my Kyogre, and I wasted my max. And I was like, damn, but I kept my cool. I brought in my Zacian, and I thought like, okay, this Whimsicott has AV now, so it's completely useless, and I could just focus down the Thunderous basically, and win with Zacian. I just won with Zacian basically. I got up my screens turn 1, and yeah, Grimsnar was staying there, and if your Grimsnar is staying on the field, then you're just winning because you get off a T-Wave on the Zacian, you get off a T-Wave on the Calyrex Shadow. So I even won without Dynamax basically. And yeah, round 4 was against Justin Karras. Again, another really good player. I knew I had to step up my gameplay. Game 1 I got demolished by Metagross. Game 2 he tried the Thunderous Whimsicott route, which is kind of funny because the same thing happened as in round 3. I was just, okay, I mean, I can win this even if he's trick. I max my Kyogre, he tricks again, and I win again the same way I did win in round 3, the game 2. It's just absolutely funny, like, it was so funny, and it actually was just the same way. And I learned that Kyogre is Scarf in that game, so I actually bought my Rillaboom game 3. And it came down to me reading his Porygon. Like the situation was I either kill his Porygon with Sacred Sword or he switches into Calyrex Shadow, and Sacred Sword obviously does nothing, so I just read the switch. For him it felt like the 50-50, but it wasn't really, because he wasn't expecting someone to read this play on a 2-run table, and yeah, I did, and the dream was just the dream was still alive, you know, kind of crazy. It really came down to this read. I don't remember, I made some crucial mistakes before, but I felt like I had a bad matchup against Metagross, but he said this is his worst matchup, so I'm probably not seeing something that, yeah, I sadly don't know, but it's not important. I won the best of 3 after all, so yeah, let's go. I was rewarded in round 5 with a pretty easy matchup. This is just Zapdos. Like, there's nothing he can do. Well, not nothing, but not much. I can just paralyze his Kyogre, even if he tailwinds. My Zapdos was faster than his Kyogre, so I could Eevee impulse everything. I got my screens up, and I just won. And game 2, I think I didn't get my screens up, but he killed my he killed my Grimmsnarl, and then I got a free switch into my Kyogre, and like my Kyogre wins as well against all of his team. So yeah, it's tough. He doesn't have a matchup into Zapdos, he doesn't have a matchup into AB screens Kyogre, so it's just a tough game. 1-6, oh, sorry. 1-6 was against Martin Cocker. Yeah, a German guy. I talked to him before on the venue, so it was a bit bittersweet to play against him as well. He actually played Solgaleo Kyogre, and it was pretty interesting. Game 1, I just won by like getting that's basically your game plan against Solgaleo teams. You get power of the Solgaleo, you just stall the Dynamax, hopefully get a T-Wave paralysis here and there, otherwise it gets kinda hard. And then in the end you just win basically. Because you still have your Dynamax in the best case, or like 1 or 2 more rounds of Dynamax than he has left. You still have your Zacian to hit Solgaleo with Sacred Sword, and yeah, that's basically a plan. And his team doesn't really do anything out of Dynamax, you know. Thunderous wants to Dynamax, Entei is only there to proc the weakness policy, so yeah, kind of rough. Yeah, and I won game 1 of that pretty comfortably. He benched Kyogre for some reason, which, you know, I take it because I didn't bring my Rillaboom again. That's what I meant when I was saying that Rillaboom like pressures in team preview pretty much. And game 2, I just kinda fucked up. Like he let Solgaleo Rillaboom, and I let Grimmsnarl Kyogre, and his Solgaleo had Wild Charge, so my Kyogre was doomed. But I was thinking, like, there's no way you are doubling up the Kyogre here or even attacking it. You're probably just, you want to remove the Grimmsnarl because like that's how your game plan should be against his team, and he acknowledged his game plan basically. And I was just hard reading the fake out max steals back into the Grimmsnarl and swapped into my Rillaboom. My Rillaboom lived the double up, and I just went for a plain water spout. Not even a max, just a plain water spout, and it worked out perfectly. I got like 40% on the Solgaleo, I got more than 40%, like more than half on the non-AV Rillaboom. it was absolutely massive, and I could go for a fake out the turn after and just max my Kyogre, and I was in a commanding position. It was so nice. It was absolutely crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I was feeling so confident after beating Justin Karras and Scott Terry the way I did. So I was just saying, okay, I'm banking it all on turn 1 because it doesn't really matter. I'm so behind. If I either get the read wrong, or if he like just goes on the Kyogre, even if I switch something in, it takes a lot of damage. I'm probably not coming back from that. So yeah, I just went for the big play and it worked out perfectly, which was so awesome. I think this was my first big hard read that worked in a tournament. Maybe, I mean, against Justin Karras you could argue it was as well, but yeah, it felt great. 1-7 was against Nabil Lakhehal. Hopefully I pronounced this correctly. Game 1 I lost basically to Serena because I was bringing my Rillaboom, not very smart. And the team is kind of rough to play against because I need to keep my Zacian and my Kyogre intact to kill his Porygon in the end game. I managed to do this quite well in game 2, and game 3 I missed my play rough on the Porygon. He was Imprison Zacian, and I read that he was not going for Imprison the second time because he did in game 2. I was just Behemoth betting into Zacian because I was thinking, no, he's not going for it this time. But he did. So I wasted this turn. I could only play rough again. So I had to kill the Porygon with play rough, and I missed. And he got a tri-attack paralysis on my Zacian. And I was like, damn. I got full parrot on the next turn, living the high jump kick from Serena with 3 HP, and it was like, I either get it now or I don't, and I'm not gonna cut, or the dream's over. And yeah, I was so nervous, but I got it in the end. It was a really great game. I was getting so unlucky and I still managed to clutch up the wins. This honestly felt absolutely amazing. And then round 8 on stream against Giovanni Tonelli. Lunadon, like, I have a very good matchup into this. I would say I'm a bit more shaky against like Thunderous Lunadon stuff, but against this I can just lead my Zapdos Grimmsnarl, and yeah, you've seen it work twice. I was pretty confident. I was playing game 2 very confidently. Game 1 I won, and he revealed White Guard, which helped me as well. And yeah, game 2 I just made the read, just stayed in with my Zacian and attacked the Groudon because I was thinking like I was on top of my game. Like after having won against so many great players and getting the confidence I needed, I was just thinking there's no way he will max Quake into a Zacian that can either protect or swap to Zapdos. He doesn't want to look dumb on stream basically. So I just made the read and just went for Behemoth Blade, killed a Zacian, and I was in cut. London was confirmed. Absolutely amazing. Like it's still kind of crazy even after a week. So yeah, I was celebrating the evening and prepped a bit against the matchup. Shoutouts to the Blizzards gang from NPA. Shoutouts to like, I remember Nicole posting like the HP stats that we have seen on stream. I remember Gabe posting the sets, and yeah, I don't remember everyone that posted, but there were a lot of people supporting me and just giving me the information I missed out basically because I was playing when Frederick was on stream. So thank you really much, and it's really crucial to have information on your opponent's team because they will always have information about your team because you are playing a meta team basically, you know. If they see the 6 Pokemon, of course there are live variants and so on and such, but like they are assuming that you are Assault West at first and they are confirming it pretty quickly. So yeah, absolutely crucial to have information. I went into top 8 the day after and I just won every game. I didn't lose a single game, which is just I don't know. It's crazy. Like I won the last 10 games in a row. It's massive. This matchup was honestly pretty nice. It was a support Thunderous, so I was just leading Grimstar Incineroar, and just burning Jealous Seed to his station game 1, and basically won the game of that. And game 2 I stalled out his Yveltal Dynamax, was Life Orb Yveltal. He didn't really have other max options if you look at the team, so I stalled out his Dynamax. It still was pretty close because he Dark Pulse flinched my Zacian, and my Zacian was living at 1 HP the next Dark Pulse and just knocking out the Yveltal, so yeah, but I would have had a game 3 as well, so but I didn't need it. Like Zacian lived at 1 HP after getting flinched and just won it. Then I played against the same team I was playing earlier. It's not only the same 6 Pokemon, but it is the same team. They built it together. Julio confirmed that on stream. Like in an interview, they built it together, so I knew it was White God Lunala, which is crucial. Like I knew the team basically, and yeah, my Groudon and his Kyogre were speed tying. I knew that from the day before as well, which was absolutely amazing for me because they really need to set up the Trick Room, you know, because otherwise the Zapdos just outspeeds everything, spams EV Impulse, does damage, like does high damage, chips everything, boosts up. So they really need to set up the Trick Room. But even then, my Kyogre not only underspeeds Venusaur and Lunala, but it also has a 50% chance to attack before Groudon. So yeah, this was really in my favor. This matchup was extremely in my favor. They still went with the same 4 every time. I think they should have. I mean, I don't win a backseat game. Then I don't know much about this team, and he is playing it to great success. So, but I was thinking maybe he adapts with Program 2. So I didn't go the Willaboom way, which I mean worked out, you know. And yeah, absolutely crazy. He can't really get rid of the Zapdos and the Grimmsnarl. So I was staying there for 2 turns. In game 2, I think, or was it in game 1? Like he was punishing me really well because I think from my stream patches before he has seen that I'm valuing T-Waves very high, and I often go for T-Waves instead of screens as well. So I was sitting there pressing T-Waves and EV Impulse into Groudon switch-ins and Incineroar switch-ins for 2 turns in a row. Like I didn't do anything 2 turns in a row, and I still end up winning this game. Like this shows how defensive you can play with this team, or like how you can even delay your screens basically if they don't threaten a KO on your Grimmsnarl. And yeah, my Grimmsnarl didn't get KO'd for like until the end of the game. Like I switched it out at some point, but you know, it's absolutely crazy. And I think it was game 1. Yeah, it was game 1. The idea was I have a it's crazy. I have a Zacian and a Kyogre and a very low Grimmsnarl in the back, and they have a Venusaur and Groudon, and sun is up, so they can just sleep powder and basically try to win from there. Max the Groudon even, for example. So I could switch out my Kyogre into Grimmsnarl to reset the weather, but I was thinking about reading. I didn't read, but I was thinking about reading them. Then just letting the Grimmsnarl stay alive and go for another sleep powder the turn after, because I couldn't because I couldn't prevent it. So I was debating with myself, do I just max the Kyogre reading the sleep powder into the Zacian, or do I just switch and go for the safe play? And I just timed out. I just timed out. Like last second I could max the Kyogre, and I just timed out. And I was like, if you rewatch the stream, I was like banging my head. It was crazy to think about in the end. But yeah, I mean, he sleep powdered the Zacian, and Zacian gladly was protecting, because I always put protect on the highest spot, because it wasn't the first time that I timed out, let's say it. Let's put it that way. And I max Geysered and just just reset the weather basically, and then my animation was faster, so it worked out in the end, but it was really dicey, so don't do that. Yeah, and then finals. I've seen the crazy game against Eric Rios in the semifinals. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's just RNG Fiesta, really funny. And I was like, I knew he wasn't play rough on his station. I knew his Zapdos was pretty weak. And they didn't bring Grimmsnarl for some reason. I don't know why. They never brought Grimmsnarl. I said it in an interview as well that I was second guessing myself because I always bring Grimmsnarl in those matchups. But I was just sticking with my gut, bring Grimmsnarl out anyway, and just thought, let's see what happens. Maybe they have a plan against it. And they really didn't, honestly. Like, I could just, like, of course, they are getting rid of it, and I'm losing it pretty fast, especially in game 1. But I still get a screen which favors me, you know. I still get a Thunder Wave. Yeah, and they don't have a way to deal with my Zapdos at all. Like, they don't have play rough on their Zacian. They bought Witherbloom, which just dies to a Hurricane. Which, to be fair, he didn't think it would die because his Zapdos was weaker than mine, but it did. And yeah, I think I was favored from the start. It was still a very, very, very clutch endgame. Like, I misplayed it by going for a Roost. Like, he still had a max Zapdos. I had a Half-Life Zapdos, and my station already took a Behemoth Blade. So it was crazy. I took the max Thunder at -2 through a light screen. And I had 32, no, I had like 20 something HP left. I think it was 21 HP. And then I protected and took another max lightning, which dealt 8 damage. I calculated, and it was actually the max roll. So I only in 1 out of 16 occasions I take 8 damage. So otherwise, if I took 7, I would have just sealed up the game basically. But I took 8. Because I didn't EV Impulse turn before. I roosted a turn before because I was Half-Life. I didn't see that I should just EV Impulse there, which was just a pretty bad mistake. But then I lived at 1 HP. Like, I would lift a Thunderbolt at 1 HP in the end. I calculated as well. It was a 37% roll in my favor, so he had basically a 37% chance to KO. So he max rolled the turn before through Protect, and then only had a 37% chance. So it was in my favor, but it still felt absolutely crazy to live with 1 HP again, basically, to win a game, because I lived in the top 8 as well, if you remember. So absolutely crazy moment. I was so nervous, and otherwise it would have come down to a timer stall. Then we would have just looked at each other playing the Zapdos game, and none of our Zapdos could kill each other, not even with crits. Like, we would just stay there pressing EV Impulse and Roost, and we would just press Thunderbolt in the last, probably dealing the same amount of damage because he has more bulk, but I have more special attack. And yeah, then we would have seen what the timer said. I think I would have been favored because he brought Incineroar, if I remember correctly, but I don't know, and I don't want to know. You know, it doesn't really matter. My Zacian just lived like a boss and got the play rough off, winning me game 1, and game 2 he just got completely destroyed. Like, he got the redraw 1. I never maxed turn 1 in all of my streamed matches, in all of the 5 streamed games before, basically. I let Grimmsnarl Zapdos again because why not? It just won me the first game. Why not doing it the second? He let Willaboom and Zacian. And I just maxed the Zapdos because I was thinking, if I get a speed boost now and he fake out Behemoth Blades to Grimmsnarl, I then have like the advantage because I'm faster than Zacian, and I can make my Zacian even faster, killing his Zacian or threatening a kill on his Zacian. Or I can bring in my Kyogre and make Kyogre faster. Like I had some really decent options if he goes for that, but it was even better than that because he went for a fake out into my Zapdos, and he was probably reading that I wouldn't max. Like I don't blame it at all. I didn't max turn 1 in all of the games before, but I felt like it there. Not because I was reading the fake out, but because I was thinking this max airstream gives me a really favorable position. And it just worked out. I got a T-Wave on the station as well. He got full powered. I don't even think that benefited me too much because he could kill my station Zapdos the turn after because of that. But I got multiple T-Waves off on his Kyogre, which couldn't protect because it was Assault Vest and then the station turn 1. So I don't complain. Absolutely insane. And yeah, there you have it. I'm your Bremen regional champion. Honestly, this was such a journey. My mentality was on top all of the time. As I said, I will probably do a video of about mentality because I just think it's so important. And yeah, if you have any questions, put them below. DM me on Twitter. I'm so grateful for all the people that said that congratulated me. And yeah, honestly, shoutouts to Terran Oliver who suggested the focus sash, and like we're just great fans. Shoutouts to the Blizzards gang, to Nicole for prepping the matchup for me basically in top 8. Shoutouts to my girlfriend and their and the Discord that just went on stream, or like in the Twitch chat, it's just copy pasted everywhere, even though they were not understanding what happens at all. Shoutouts to them as well. Shoutouts to the German gang, shoutouts to Salty and Leon. Like, you guys rock. It was really fun seeing you again, and yeah, I will go to Worlds, and if you are at Worlds, come say hi to me. I will appreciate it. And if you aren't at Worlds, root for me from home. I will try my best. Let's see how far I can go in my first Worlds ever. It just feels amazing to be able to say that, and yeah, I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys very soon. Subscribe to Warrior Esports, and that's it. That's the team report.